Imagine you spent 10 years building a company. Late nights, missed weekends, every dollar carefully reinvested. You finally reach profitability. Cash flow is steady. The future looks bright. Then one day, you decide to bring on a partner. Not just any partner. Someone who gets 50% of everything you've built. 50% of every future dollar. Full access to the bank account, and the legal power to walk away at any time with half the company. You don't run a background check. You don't look at their financial history. You don't review their debt, their spending habits, or their credit score. You sign the contract based on vibes. If this were a business decision, you'd be fired instantly. Your investors would call it reckless. Your competitors would laugh. But when people do this in real life, we don't call it a merger. We call it marriage. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Marriage is the most powerful financial contract most people will ever sign. Yet it's the one they understand the least. People obsess over stock portfolios. They argue about index funds, crypto, and real estate. But they ignore the single agreement that can erase decades of wealth in one afternoon. In the eyes of the law, marriage is not a fairy tale. It is a financial partnership. A legal fusion of two economic systems. When you say "I do," you activate tax rules, debt rules, property laws, and liability rules. Your financial future becomes legally intertwined with someone else's habits, choices, and mistakes. Most people read iPhone terms and conditions more carefully than they read their marriage contract. They walk in blind, guided by chemistry instead of spreadsheets. And that's dangerous, because financial incompatibility doesn't explode like a bomb. It leaks like a slow puncture. If one partner saves and the other spends, the household isn't balanced. It's in a constant tug of war. One side is building, the other side is consuming. Opposites might attract in dating, but in money, opposites don't attract, they attack. If you're someone who finds comfort in saving, investing, and long-term planning, and you marry someone who finds comfort in spending and lifestyle upgrades, you're not entering a partnership. You're entering a financial war of attrition. No explosions, no dramatic collapse. Just a slow drain on your future. And the worst part? You become the villain. You're the one saying no. No to vacations, no to upgrades, no to lifestyle inflation. Eventually, the arguments get exhausting. So you stop fighting, not because you agree, but because peace feels cheaper than progress. Your goals don't die. They quietly fade. And that's only the best case scenario. Because the worst case scenario is divorce. And divorce doesn't leak, it detonates. Let's talk about probabilities. The divorce rate for first marriages hovers around 40 to 50%. For second and third marriages, it climbs even higher. That means marriage, statistically, is a coin flip. Imagine an investment with these odds. A 50% chance to grow steadily. A 50% chance to lose half your capital instantly. No hedge fund manager would touch that deal. But millions of people sign it every year with their entire future. When a marriage breaks, the financial damage doesn't happen in one place. It happens everywhere at once. First, the economy of scale disappears. Two incomes used to support one household. One rent, one set of bills, one shared lifestyle. After divorce, the same income must support two households, two rents, two electric bills, two internet plans, two lives that used to cost one. Your overhead doubles overnight, then comes the asset split. Let's say a couple has a net worth of $500,000. In many states, it gets divided down the middle, so now you're looking at $250,000. But that's not the real number, because the lawyers haven't been paid yet. A contested divorce can cost $50,000 to $70,000 per person, so your share drops closer to $200,000. Then the house gets sold. Realtor fees, closing costs, moving expenses, more wealth evaporates. Then come the forced liquidations, selling stocks at the wrong time, cashing out retirement accounts, triggering taxes and penalties just to fund the settlement. By the time everything is finished, 60 to 70% of your purchasing power can be gone. Not delayed, not reduced, destroyed, and now you're older. With less time left for compounding to save you. But the damage doesn't stop there. Because divorce doesn't always end when the paperwork is signed. Alimony and child support can follow you for years. If you were the higher earner, the law may require you to fund the lifestyle of your former partner. Even though the partnership failed, the financial obligation remains. Your ex becomes a long-term liability on your balance sheet. Not dischargeable, not optional. Some high earners making $200,000 a year end up living like students. Small apartments, cheap food, no flexibility. They're generating income, but they're not building wealth. They're paying for the past. And all of this started with one decision. Choosing a partner without treating the decision like a financial merger. Because love doesn't cancel math. Emotion doesn't override legal contracts, and good intentions don't protect your net worth. Money stress doesn't just hurt your bank account. It corrodes relationships from the inside. That's why finances are the #1 cause of divorce. You can't build emotional stability on a broken financial foundation, which leads to the uncomfortable conclusion. If you want a strong relationship, you have to get the money right first, not after the wedding, before it. Not every financial disaster comes from divorce. Some of the most expensive marriages never end. They just quietly bleed you dry. This is what happens when a saver marries a spender. There's no explosion, no dramatic collapse. Just a slow, invisible drain on your future. Let's say you're disciplined. You save $20,000 a year, you invest it. You let compound interest do its job. Over 30 years at 8%, that becomes more than $2 million. You win. But then you marry someone who believes money is for enjoyment. Not reckless, not irresponsible. They just like nice things. They lease a luxury car every few years. They prefer premium vacations. They eat out daily. They buy gifts often. None of it feels extreme. But together, those choices add about $15,000 a year in extra spending. Now, your household savings drop from $20,000 to $5,000. Run the numbers again. $5,000 a year for 30 years becomes around $500,000. The difference isn't small. That marriage cost you $1.5 million. Not through cheating, not through betrayal, through lifestyle. Your partner's spending habits became a parasite on your compounding. You were filling the bucket, they were drilling holes in the bottom, and the psychological damage is worse than the math. You become the bad guy, the no person, the one who kills fun. Every money conversation becomes a fight, so eventually you stop pushing. Not because you changed your values, because peace feels cheaper than progress. Your financial dreams don't explode, they dissolve. One Amazon box at a time. This is the silent death of wealth. And it's more common than divorce, because most people don't argue about money loudly. They avoid it, they adapt downward, they accept less than they planned for, not because they wanted to, but because friction is exhausting, which brings us to an even darker problem. Financial infidelity. This is when one partner hides debt, hides spending, lies about money, and it's shockingly common. Nearly 40% of people admit to doing it. Secret credit cards, hidden loans, unpaid bills. In many marriages, you're legally responsible for your spouse's debt. If they wreck their credit score, you feel it too. No mortgage, higher interest rates, fewer options. You might be swimming together while your partner secretly ties weights to your ankles. You don't drown from one bad decision. You drown from not knowing the truth. That's why trust in money matters as much as trust in love. Because when finances are hidden, the risk isn't emotional, it's legal. So how do you reduce the risk of this massive decision? How do you avoid signing the worst contract of your life? You do what every smart business does before a merger. You run due diligence. You would never hire a CFO without seeing their resume. You would never invest in a company without checking the balance sheet. Yet people marry without checking anything. No credit score, no debt breakdown, no spending history, just feelings. Before you get engaged, you need to have the money conversation. Not a casual chat, a full financial audit. You need to open the books, show me your credit score, show me your student loans, show me your credit card balances, show me your monthly spending. This isn't unromantic, it's responsible. You're not judging the person, you're evaluating the partnership. Look for patterns. Do they use debt as a tool or a lifestyle? Do they spend to regulate their emotions? Do they avoid bills out of fear? These aren't quirks, they're structural risks. You can't fix someone who doesn't want to change. If your financial values are fundamentally opposite, love will not save the math. You'll spend your life bailing water out of a sinking boat. The second protection layer is controversial, but essential: the prenuptial agreement. A prenup isn't about planning to fail. It's about planning for reality. You don't buy insurance because you want an accident. You buy it because accidents happen. Marriage is no different. A prenup forces hard conversations while you still love each other. It defines what is mine, what is ours, what happens if things go wrong. It can protect premarital assets. It can shield you from your spouse's debt. It can pre-negotiate support instead of leaving your future to a stranger in a courtroom. A prenup is respect for your future self. If your partner refuses to even discuss it, that's not romance, that's risk. It means they're comfortable with the state's default divorce rules that were written for a different era, rules that don't care about your goals, your effort, or your sacrifice. However, let's flip the perspective. Because when marriage is done right, it's the greatest wealth accelerator in existence. 2 aligned people, 2 incomes, 1 lifestyle, shared values, shared discipline, shared vision. That combination is powerful. It creates surplus, stability, momentum. A financially aligned marriage isn't fragile, it's a fortress. When 2 financially aligned people build a life together, marriage becomes a wealth engine. 2 incomes, 1 set of expenses. You split the rent, share the car, combine the grocery bill. Your cost of living barely rises, but your earning power doubles. You now have 2 401ks, 2 IRAs, double the tax-advantaged investing space, and more importantly, you have built-in accountability. When one person wants to spend, the other slows them down. When one person loses a job, the other keeps the system running. This is what financial resilience looks like. Not luck, not genius, alignment. But there's another decision people underestimate: the stay-at-home spouse. When one partner leaves the workforce, they sacrifice income, career growth, and retirement contributions. They're still contributing massively to the household, but the risk becomes uneven. If the marriage ends, the non-working spouse has a resume gap, no employer retirement plan, and limited financial leverage. That's why the legal system uses alimony. It's compensation for sacrificed earning power. So if you're the working spouse, understand this clearly. You're not just married, you're running a business with a severance package clause. If you're the stay-at-home spouse, you need protection. A funded spousal IRA, clear financial access, shared long-term planning. The household must be treated like a business. Both partners contribute. Both partners deserve security, even if the compensation looks different. Because marriage isn't just emotional, it's operational, and when it's built correctly, it compounds. Choosing who you marry is an asset allocation decision. You are investing your time, your emotions, and your future income into one person. Do not pick a penny stock. Do not pick a meme stock. Pick a blue chip. Choose someone with a track record of stability, growth, and emotional dividends. You want a partner who compounds you, not one who discounts you. So here's the actionable play. If you're single, financial literacy belongs on your deal breaker list, right next to kindness and attraction. If you're dating, stop avoiding the money talk. Ask them, what does wealth mean to you? Watch the answer carefully. If they say luxury cars and status, be cautious. If they say freedom and security, lean in. If you're already married and you see a spender problem forming, you must intervene. Separate the finances. Create a yours, mine, and ours system. Automate savings before the money ever hits the joint account. Build guardrails. Hope is not a strategy. Marriage is a high-stakes game. The upside is enormous. The downside is brutal. Treat it with respect. Read the contract. Run the due diligence. Choose your co-founder wisely because a broken heart can heal. But a broken retirement account follows you forever. If this made you realize you need a serious conversation tonight, frame it as building a future together, not fixing a problem. Thanks for watching.